Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, joined today by Stu Bergier. Mr. David Harris Jr. is back. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And foreign relations expert Jason Buttrell. So this is a good day for you to be on.
It is. Very good, eh?
Yeah. Stu, what's your top story?
I got some nice titles and intros. I just got my name. So that was nice.
And Stu.
And Stu. I will say, because I think Iran is probably the biggest story, but I think I'll go with to kind of draw people's attention to the ABC reporting on Joe Biden and Ukraine and China, which is like a shocking development.
Wow.
The mainstream media actually picking this up a little bit.
Oh, wow. All right. David.
I want to talk about the talk that's been happening in our Judiciary Committee on reparations and some of the comments that were made specifically by a bishop, somebody that's supposed to be representing God, and his claim that white people need to do something in order to save their souls.
Oh, I can't wait to get into that with you.
We'll get into that.
And Jason.
As you could probably guess, it is Iran. And I'm like, I'm at wit's end on what mainstream outlets and experts are saying about it. I believe they think Iran is like the latest Apple release of like, their athletic line. Like the I ran, the I walk, the I Stairmaster, and the I whatever. It sounds like they have no clue what's going on. So you guys will after this.
All right. Obviously, a lot to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, realestateagentsitrust.com. There's a lot of people out there who dabble in the real estate business, especially Jason's handyman, plumber. Mm-hmm. Some people on the show have said before they would want their plumber to be the one to sell their houses. I don't really subscribe to that philosophy. You probably shouldn't either. So if you were looking to buy or sell your home, no pressure. It's only the biggest investment you're ever going to make in your life, which is why you don't want the dabbler. You don't want, sorry, Jason, the plumber. You want someone who does it full time. You want someone who is the expert in that area. You want someone who shares your values. And all of that is what you're going to get if you go to realestateagentsitrust.com. Glenn and his team, they have people all over the country. They do it full time. They know these areas. They have someone where you're located, and they share your values. So you're going to know, especially if you're moving from one place, one part of the country to the other, you're going to know that they know where your family is going to be safe, where they're going to be happy. You can go to realestateagentsitrust.com right now. Let them match you with someone who is going to get you the best deal, the best home, the best value for your money and for your family. All right, Stu.
Let me ask you something on the fly here. This is
Okay.
just to switch this up a little bit. You guys watched Press Your Luck? Do you know the show Press Your Luck?
Yes.
With the whammies and everything?
Oh, yeah.
They just brought it back.
Yeah,
They just brought it back.
Did they?
You know who's
No
hosting
whammies,
it?
stop.
Elizabeth Banks. The
No
actress is hosting this show. I think it's ABC is running it.
Okay,
First of all,
that's
I
weird.
freaking love Press Your Luck. It's like my favorite show when I was a kid.
that,
yeah.
I love it with the whammies. It's all just like the old days.
No whammies, no
But-
whammies, no whammies.
Exactly. And you answer questions, you get spins, right? And then you can either spin the wheel or spin the board, or you can pass the spins. I would like to start passing my spins to Jason because I think Iran is really the biggest story, and I'm thinking maybe we start there.
Okay, let's do it.
You have to take the spins.
I will not deliver a whammy right now, promise.
No whammies.
Okay, so a lot to unpack here. So let's just right off the bat, how do we get here? I'll go back a couple of months, with the tankers. The evidence that was shown looked very legitimately like the IRGC, I believe, were the ones that put limpet mines, magnetic mines, onto the ships. It's pretty, it seems very, very obvious that that's what's going on. And before we go into the drone and everything else that has transpired, I want to make this clarification now because, again, this is something that a lot of people don't understand. They're like, well, yeah, you have the president of Iran, you have the foreign minister of Iran, all these people saying, no, we did not do this. We even have people in the Iranian military saying, no, we did not do this. The IRGC which is the Iranian Republican Guard Corps, they are different. They don't answer to the president of Iran or the foreign minister. They only answer to the mullahs, or specifically the Ayatollah, the supreme leader. So they can pretty much do whatever they want. Unless the Ayatollah says, hey, don't do that, then they won't do it. So I just want to make that clarification for when they say, yeah, well, they're denying it here, they're not denying it here. That doesn't matter in Iran. Let's go towards the drone, the downing of the drone. First off, the drone it shows how badly our drone technology has gone. Our drones are built to fight wars for terrorism. Non-nation states that don't have anti-air capability. That kind of shows that's just something I want to get out now. Is our military really needs to pivot away from those drones, which are basically like giant cinder blocks, like hovering in the sky, to stealth technology. Because every nation, pretty much that is credible right now, can knock all of our drones out of the sky, except for our stealth drones, which they still can. Iran did knock out one of our stealth drones, but at least make it a little bit harder for them.
Right.
But the downing of our drone is almost the perfect operation for the IRGC. And I'll explain that, because they can claim that it was in their airspace. We can claim that it's in our airspace. We'll both have evidence that'll prove our claims correctly. The Iranian government actually showed a handwritten map that said, see, it was here, and they put a pencil mark right there. See, we told you. Their evidence is, I'm dead serious. It's like still on Twitter right now from Javad Zarif, their foreign minister. So not very credible, it wasn't very high tech, but it doesn't matter. They can make their claims, we'll make our claims. It was a perfect attack it was not life-threatening. They knocked out a drone. It's very expensive. It's about a $113 million piece of equipment. It's more expensive than the F-35 fighter jet.
What?
Wow.
That's about a $90 million piece of gear. Yeah, $115 million. Insane.
Why, going back to your point there, like if this was a stealth drone, specifically designed to be able to elude this.
It wasn't a stealth. This one wasn't.
This one wasn't. Okay.
No, that's why they knocked it out.
That's why I initially heard reported that it actually was specifically designed to avoid these sorts of missiles. Okay, good.
Global Hawk. It's like I said, it's a cinder block in the sky. Anyone can take it out. They used the missile that they used wasn't even their most capable missile, the S-300, which is Russian supplied. It was a step below that. So any of these drones they can knock out at any time. They have the capability to do it. They can do it. They can do it right now if they wanted to, and there are drones up there probably. The fact that some people have said, the president actually said that he didn't think that this was, he didn't think that this was intentional, that it was a mistake. But that countered what the Iranian government said. They were like, no, we did it. What are you talking about? Well, of course we did it. Of course, Iran's not going to admit that they have internal divisions within the country. I'll go more into that a little bit later. But they do. IRGC acts on their own whims, whatever they want to do. The IRGC are the ones that did this, not the Iranian military. But they won't admit that because there are severe divisions within Iran. Their foreign minister, which I just mentioned, Zarif, he tried to quit. He tried to walk out a few months ago. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. No. But he was like, screw it, I'm out of here. The reason being is because he is at the table negotiating with diplomats on one case saying, no, we're not doing these things. We're not being aggressive, whatever. And the IRGC is doing their own thing. He's like, I can't do this.
Well, I mean, it was a main thing. We had this situation where Japan was kind of on our behalf going to Iran and having these sort of negotiations. Yeah. At the same time, they hit a Japanese oil tanker in the Strait of Hormuz.
Great point.
That's a huge division. It's screwing up one side of the negotiation for the other.
That's a great point. And a lot of people
dangerous.
Said, yeah, oh, absolutely is.
Very unstable.
Absolutely, but that's exactly what they want. People said use that case that Japan's president was there during that tanker thing to say, look, this must be a false flag attack for the United States. No, they're not. Again, you have to understand their rank and file, their command structure is different. The IRGC is doing their own thing. This is what the IRGC wants to do. They want to drive up insurance costs of the tankers going in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. Again, a third of the world's oil coming in and out of that strait. They want to drive up those insurance costs. Knocking out a drone does that because all of a sudden people get really, really freaked out and scared. Putting limpet mines on tankers does that. Their insurance rates are climbing. I don't have the numbers, but the insurance rates are going up. You're slowing the traffic. So what they're trying to do is create pain, global pain, by escalation. They want us to attack. They wanted us to do an attack on their missile batteries or their anti-aircraft capability, which is what the president said that had okayed, the order that he said that he okayed to do. That's exactly what they want. That is exactly the opposite thing we should do right now because that's what they want us to do. They want us to, there's be so much global pain that'll force us to the table and say, okay, we'll ease back on these sanctions. This is all about sanctions. It's all about their economy, which is in shambles. First thing I want to bring up right now is a Radio Free Iran article that shows that Iran's latest inflation figures are topping 50%.
Jeez.
They are climbing, they're not going down. That has caused food prices to jump 85%. Man. Next thing I want to pull up is a thing that this is the 10-year, is that the inflation rate or is that the currency? that the inflation rate?
Inflation.
That's the inflation rate. Okay, so the first thing, if you'll notice on here, is in 2013, their inflation rate had spiked. That was when Ahmadinejad was on his way out, but they thought that they were going to try to keep him back in. But Rouhani ended up winning. That's exactly when you see right at the tail end of 2013, when we started negotiating the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the nuke deal. Their inflation rate started going down again to historic lows. It was going down, things were better. You can see right here as we started implementing a faction where I'm pointing as the right past 2018, that is when we said, okay, screw the JCPOA, it's going back into effect. This is how we're going to fight and counter them. Not militarily, but using economic warfare. Their inflation rate, as we said, is spiking. 50% right now, still going up. Food staple prices are soaring, and it's causing, there's internal strife. There's people hitting the streets, mass protests. This is the next diagram that I want to show you, or graph that I want to show you. This is the currency. This is their currency. Again, you see the same thing in 2013. It was spiking. They thought that Ahmadinejad was going to stay in. They ended up getting Rouhani, JCPOA again, and then it flatlined. It started to go back down. It's been climbing ever since because they haven't fixed their problems. But again, as Donald Trump became president and said he was going to rescind that, again, it's spiking again. Their currency is in free fall. I think it's right now, I can't see the end of that, but it seemed like it was around 50,000 to 1 or something like that. Wow. This is working. We don't have to strike them. The Trump tweeted this morning, he said that he rescinded this attack, which I think
10 minutes before it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry, but he would have known. He said it wasn't a proportional response that 150 Iranians would die. That's exactly right. That wouldn't have been a proportional response. We would have escalated. They would have retaliated against us. He's exactly right. Problem is, his generals would have told him that in the planning stage.
Right.
They would have known this. So I think the entire New York Times leak was leaked, but not by I think it's leaked straight from the Oval Office.
Yeah, accurate reporting of the leak, essentially. Right. But the leak is meant to send a signal to Iran, like don't cross this line. Yeah. We're gonna, if you keep doing this, we're this close. The planes were in the air. It almost happened. And I think that's kind of the signal to be sent there.
Yes.
I find it really interesting from the Trump perspective too, of like a guy who he is, there's two sides of Donald Trump, I think, when it comes to these international relations. And like one of them is very Trumpy, and he's like a tough talker. You're not going to screw with us. You start crossing these lines, we're going to make sure you don't do it again. And that is a real core part of Donald Trump.
And I'll frame this in Trump doctrine. That's step one. There's 3 steps in Trump doctrine. Okay. That's step one.
I was going to say the other one is that it's a long-term belief of him to really be against war. I mean, this is a guy who comes in as probably the least likely to go to war of any Republican president in our memory.
Right, but what does he do right after being very braggadocious and insulting to them? He deploys troops. He deploys ships, like with North Korea. There was like 3 or 4 aircraft carriers there at some time. It tells them that they're going to send in military troops. We just did that. We should send another 1,000 troops there, I believe. So he's very braggadocious, step one, just like you said. Yep. Then even though he's against war, then he sends tons of troops.
Back it up.
But what does he do for step 3?
He usually backs off of it, right?
Because that does what? And sanctions.
Sanctions, yep.
Economic
calms
warfare.
it down. I think because that is really a core belief of him. I think I think he really does not want to go to war. And he sees, as he sees in every other negotiation, when you're tough up front, a lot of times you just win. So he tries that, I think, early on. I am not of the belief that he's going to want to try to enter us into some sort of larger war with Iran. He's shown nothing. That's not him. I mean, and that's good. I'm glad. I do not want to get involved in that. Yeah. If it's at all possible. Obviously, a massive attack against us is another situation. But the sanctions are working, and I think this has been a good path. I just don't want to see. I'm a little concerned of it spiraling out of control. But I think so far we've done the right stuff here.
Yeah, complete agreement. I think that even just those economic numbers alone show you the tragedy of the JCPOA nuke deal. If that would not have happened, the regime. I think the regime would be toppled by now. I really do. We're on that same trajectory right now. The absolute worst thing that Trump could do, like this would be the equivalent of signing the JCPOA if he retaliated too heavily. It would be the exact same equivalent. We don't need to. Patience is key. Stay the course. The president was right to not retaliate. Just keep on keeping on. No matter what Biden was saying, Biden was tweeting some ridiculous stuff about how he... Shut up. You signed the JCPOA for crying out loud. Right. Come on. You handed Iran the Middle East.
It seems like we've been having this conversation, or we were not too long ago, about North Korea.
Yep. Exactly the same, pretty much.
So we need a Kim Jong-un round 2 here with Trump. Go bring it.
All right, we're going to get to reparations when we come back.
It's a dangerous thing. I hate to see, because if they do something where they take out more
Before we get back into the conversation, I want to thank our sponsor, Cruise Through History. If you've been living under a rock, you haven't heard this yet, but you need to. There is a really amazing cruise taking place in March of next year. And so you're going to go on this luxurious, is it an Italian cruise line?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Italian cruise line. So they've got gourmet Italian food. You know, they've got pools. They've got all of the amazing things that you would get on a really awesome cruise. Plus, you're going to be going in the Eastern Mediterranean. Stu's going. So there's Croatia, Venice,
Greece,
Israel.
I know there's at least those 4 stops. It's going to be an amazing trip. And one of the things that's cool about it is all the airfare is included in this. Which, a flight over to get over to Europe is going to be expensive. And I've heard, I don't know if 100% if everyone's in this situation, but there's going to be flights that are going to be mostly people going to this cruise. That's going to be
really
fun. That's going to be it's going to either you're going to get really sick of the person sitting next to him. But the good thing is you can always escape. I'm going to escape from Glenn because I can be on the whole other side of the boat while he's blabbing on about history. I'll be at the bar. Come join me. Italian food. Some alcohol, the pool
You'll be on the history side, you'll be on the party side.
Exactly.
There's a history side and there's a party side on this cruise. It's a cruise for everyone, everyone. So Glenn's going to be there, Stu's going to be there, Bill O'Reilly is going to be there, Rabbi Daniel Lappin and David Barton. Who better than all of those men to teach you that history, and who better to drink with than Stu Bergier? So you got to go pick your package. You got to go to comesailaway.com for more details. And it was really weird. Off air, Stu actually said to me that he was going to buy a round of drinks for everyone on his flight.
Heard that too.
You know what? All expenses are included. So yeah, I'll buy on the ship the entire time.
Oh, the ship. Okay.
Entire time.
All right. I see what you did. Comesailaway.com for more info and to book it. All right, David, I'm just going to go around the table now that we've done the passing. David, let's talk reparations. Who better to talk reparations?
Yeah, then, I was a former slave. I understand what's going on. And nobody alive today. And it's just crazy to me that this is still being discussed and talked about. There's people alive today that maybe grew up under Jim Crow and dealt with segregation. But the fact that the Democrats still want to continue to suggest that Black people need to be paid for something our ancestors went through is just insane to me.
Would you, sorry to interrupt, but would you be more, if it was focused more on Jim Crow era, would you be more on board with that, or at least a conversation?
Do you mean only giving it to people who
were affected
during that era?
Right.
That would make more sense as an argument. As an argument, that would make more sense because there's people that have lived through that and that are alive today. That had to deal with those injustices, but that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about just slavery, period. They're talking about what our ancestors went through, and there's so many different sides to the coin. It's like Black folks own slaves.
Yeah.
I think one of the first men to own a slave in the United States was a Black guy. So it's not even a race issue. But the fact that they just want to continue to try to rile emotion up out of Black folks in this country. I think is just, it's ridiculous, it's ingenuine. And this bishop, when I heard him talk, I just couldn't believe it. For a pastor, somebody that's supposed to be leading a congregation in God's name, and they're called ministers of reconciliation, to be speaking and talking at white people, calling them my brothers and sisters, well, he's just talking out of his ear hole. And to say white folks actually need to do this in order to save their souls, it's baffling to me. It's like it's Jesse Jackson 2.0. It's the new Al Sharpton. It's the same divisive rhetoric that we've been hearing, but he says some more stuff too. I think you got the clip.
Yeah, we do.
Let's play that clip.
And when I'm talking for reparations, I'm talking about those left behind, but I'm actually talking to my white brothers and sisters. You need this more than we do. You need this for your soul. You need this to be able to look Black persons in the eye and say, I acknowledge the mistake, and I want to be part of the solution to repair that damage.
I don't know anyone who has not acknowledged that mistake.
Yeah,
right?
Stu, have you acknowledged and see, that's the thing. It's like when we try to ask for, or if what he's saying is accurate, it puts black folks in a situation, in a scenario mentally where now they go around looking at everybody based on their race.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, and now how are you looking at me? Are you looking at me like you're sorry for what may or may not have happened in your lineage? Are you? And it's just creating this entire racial tension instead of us all accepting everybody as Americans. The past is the past. We live in the greatest country on the planet, and we all have freedoms that give us the opportunity to make what we want out of this life if we do it.
My kids are like, they were so awesome before they got to junior high school. Like, well, that's an evergreen statement on many subjects. But seriously, it was so amazing. They did not tell differences about race at all. They had no idea that there was
them right.
Right. They had no clue. And it did not matter until they got to junior high school, and then they started hearing all the political crap that's out there right now. Then all of a sudden they were like, whoa, then all of a sudden they saw division, they saw lines, which didn't exist before.
Right.
But every time we keep bringing this stuff up like this, it just divides us further.
You know where those lines exist? Really, really clearly in prison. Mm-hmm. Are they trying to bring a prison mindset to the rest of the country?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Get everybody to look at all the rest of us as based on race and not based on the content of our character?
It definitely seems like they want to create that dependence, right? Like it's like that dependence on their worldview, so they can put you in these little categories. I mean, like this stuff is really it's upsetting, and like I have a relatively good relationship with my family. Like there's not a lot of family drama, like even my extended family that I can think of. But surely I can think of a few completely insane people in my family.
We all have them.
Right, exactly. Everybody
We all
does.
have a few nuts
And
in
you
the
know
family
what?
tree.
I'm not responsible for what they do.
Exactly.
At all, and they're alive. Like, let alone the people from like a million generations ago, which I don't think I had any of that in my history. But if I did, it would have nothing to do with me. I've done plenty of stuff that I'm not proud of in my life, but I'm only responsible for that. I am not responsible for what my great grandfather did. I didn't even meet the guy, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to take a step back from this, and like the concept that people alive today would have problems looking an African American, a black guy in the eye and saying, I'm so sorry, like what people 300 years ago that I didn't meet did. Like, I have no problem looking anybody in the eye. If I wronged them, then I might have something to apologize for. And we can all acknowledge that the country as a whole has done not just terrible things to African Americans, but to everybody, right? Like, there's been lots of problems in the United States. We've been a great force for good as a whole, but of course we've made mistakes as a country. Apologizing for that, I don't know what it means. This is just another scheme to be able to redistribute wealth in a way that the left wants.
And it's dangerous too, because if you know what's going on in South Africa, there are uprisings of black South Africans that are just talking about raping, pillaging, murdering, killing men, women, kids, dogs, cats. It doesn't matter if they're
make
white.
Decisions based on race.
And I just heard a story where a black guy, and I'm not sure exactly where it happened, raped some woman, white woman, and then said that she deserved it because she was white. It's like, where is this going to end? And it's all coming from the Democrat Party. It's all coming from the side of the Democrats that are continuing to push us. It's dangerous for us as a country, and it needs to be stopped. And black Americans need to wake up and understand what's trying to be done here.
I think you put your finger on the absolute worst part of this too, which is the fact that they're using faith to get these things done. I remember when Glenn was really under attack back in 2013 or something. I had to write a piece for the Washington Post about this, and he was being attacked by one of Barack Obama's spiritual advisors. And this guy was just, in obvious political attacks, trying to come up with this like roundabout justification that he was justified through God to do these things. And it's like, that is like, there's a special level of hell for you if you're doing that.
It's Antichrist in nature.
It really is.
It's 100% Antichrist.
And there has to be that time where if you're looking at that and that's the sort of analysis you're getting from your pastor, like you got to rethink, you got to look, because these are human beings. We forget, even pastors are human beings, and they're using their own,
they're fallible,
earthly.
I would switch churches.
Absolutely.
Back
Leave that church.
just my personal recommendation.
Right. I second that.
All right, don't forget, we have more to come in overtime. We're going to be discussing Joe Biden and the media coverage. So there's going to be a lot there that you are going to miss if you're not already a subscriber. You got to go to blazetv.com. You can use promo code NEWS for $10 off of your annual subscription. And it's not just us. You get access to, you've got Steven Crowder, you've got Eric Bolling, you've got plenty of shows to choose from. You're going to have so many, you won't know what to do with yourself except watch Overtime. I mean, obviously, which is coming up next.